Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be understanding why delay happens. Okay, so there's a lot of human behavior that you'll understand today. It's like, and not just human behavior, but in market, society, communities, and a lot of different kind of stuff. Because I will be explaining how a lot of times things that happen because they happen because there are delays and you're not able to like kind of like match the causality, right? So, for example, let's say you start eating food, right? And what happens is that it takes about a. Let me just change my mic for a better, because if it's closer to my face, it's very easy to speak, because I have to speak for hours now. So like something like this, yeah. So I'm saying right that we have how should I say, a lot of delays in real life. Let's say, for example, you start eating food, and it takes about a couple of months for the fat to get stored. So let's say you're eating a diet which has 3,000 calories, right? And you burn somewhere about 2,800 calories, or 2,900 calories, or 2,990 calories, right? And there's only 10 calorie surplus. It takes about a couple of months for that 10 calorie surplus to become something even visible. But about the end of the year, you would be fat, like not too fat, just slightly fat, and by the end of the decade you would really be fat, right? So this is how delay happens. It's like how small, like, even though, like, that was such a small amount, it was like accumulating, and that was the delay. Like, that's why we have like delays in natural resources, non-renewable resources, right? They take centuries to accumulate, right? And that's why we have delay in deterioration of plastic, which almost last forever, because more like, yeah, hundreds of, like, yeah. So yeah, there's insane amount of delays in these kind of stuff. But it's not just in like fat, it's like in relationships too. For example, you start making friends with someone, it takes time to build trust. It's like you can't just, even if they're the perfect person that can match you, you would never know until you do not give them time and energy, right? So it's like, there are some person, let's say in your classroom, there's one person you vibe with, right? And you never talk to them, right? And you've talked to them one time, but you never actually invested the energy, and you thought at this first out, oh, they and I are most likely different, and we're not going to work together or something. But it takes time to actually know. That's why people kind of like make decisions before the information arrives, because what delay is pretty much is information arriving just too late, or state changes happening just too late. Donella explains this pretty well, right? I think she does a marvelous job at it, and that's what we're actually gonna understand in the video, because we, like, last time we were talking about delays too, right? So we're just gonna pick up from there. Let me just open the PDF real quick, right? And thinking in systems, we've got the notes, prediction logging, yeah. And yeah, there was some prediction that I made, which is kind of, yeah. So let's just close the stuff that is not related to what we're doing currently, right? So yeah, we are done. So here's let me just show you a couple of things, like, real quick. It's day 5 today, so let me just change the day to day 5. At the top, as you can see, there's a couple of things you would be see day 5 to day 10, like quick studies, concept integrated. We integrated feedback loops and delay. Current domain system. Current concept is not feedback loop, we already mastered that. Current concept is delay. All right, so we got into a new concept, like everything's working out fine. So what pretty much delays are is that, for example, let's say you're a company that's kind of like trying to mine a resource, right? It takes about a century, not century, that's an exaggeration, it's too big of it takes about a decade. Like, for example, you have like a mine, like, if I were to, like, just you I can literally show you an image, right? Because I'm sharing my screen. It's like a mine, right? I can just do that, and I can just go to images, and you're like gonna see that it takes, as you can see, it like, you need to go downwards to actually get what you want. Like, so you're kind of like constantly digging downwards, like, if you look at here, right? So it's like it takes time to actually dig and actually create all the infrastructure. That's delay number one. Another delay that we have here is, like, the deeper we go, the more better equipments and things we would actually require. So that's another delay, right? Because, like, we are requiring more and more stuff, right? The amount of time it takes, this amount of, like, let's say it's an ointment or whatever, or maybe ore mine, it takes, like, the amount of time it takes for it to be actually transported, right, into different areas, and for other people to have it, it takes time. So all of it is like a slight delay that's accumulating. That's why, like, when these mines actually are fine, it takes about a year or something to get everything done. I don't know exact specific time, because I've never been into any of these of industry, and I know nothing about it. But what I'm just giving is an approx example. I don't know how much time it actually takes, but it should at least take about 6 months to a year to actually go there, find the perfect area, know the where to mine, could get all the information, start digging, start doing, right? Get all the infrastructure, get all the people. And if you are some big company, maybe you can do it faster within 3 months or something. But you see what I mean, right? So these all of this takes delays, right? That's just the same thing as like we have in learning, right? I mean, let's say for example, you're learning Python, you're learning coding, or you're learning whatever that you heart desires. So what happens in those kind of situations too is like delays takes a lot of time, right? There's a time, like, if you are learning coding, there's a time till you like learn variables, there's a time then you to learn classes, and it's like it takes time to, like, all get all of this thing integrated in your brain, and then when you're sleeping, the memory reconsolidation happen, and as said in neuroscience, as you guys know most probably. So that takes time. So it's like we have, like, even information gathering in itself takes time, and storing that information into, like, your amygdala and different parts of the brain takes time. Like, no, hippocampus, not amygdala. I got that wrong, right? I mean, wait a sec. Where was the part of the brain involved which was involved with um I think I got the hippocampus right. I don't think so. It's amygdala. It's hippocampus. Amygdala is more. Yeah, it's hippocampus. Yeah, as you can see, it's definitely hippocampus. Right. I mean, so yeah, yep. So it's kind of like hippocampus. So that's like what we have for learning, and then we have like amygdala, which manages threats or different stuff like that. So that's also there too. Right. So all of this takes delays. Like, there's very minute delay that we have. For example, changing the gain of my mic like this. Hello. Like, this is like a small delay. Like, I can just constantly change it, like the gain of my mic. I can just constantly type something, and that is like instantly gonna go to someone else. Right. In the back then, if you remember, when we have like letters or something, that was insane delay, right? So information sharing would take a lot of time. Right now, you just upload something on the website, people can search it and find an instantly, right? So, but now the delay has shifted. The delay is no longer the platform or the online Google. It's you actually observing some information and then actually typing that out on a platform like a website or something, and sharing it to the people, and then other people accidentally coming across to it, right? So, but we have delays everywhere, in relationship, in markets, in society, in studying, and, like, yeah, everywhere, like literally everywhere. So the systems are the enough oil in the underground deposit to supply the initial scale of, but actual extraction peaks about 40 years before the surprising effects of if 10% being at the capital stock 5%. Well, the capital stock has quadrupled, the extraction is starting to like be. So now you have capital stock. So I think the thing was, yesterday there was a big problem, is like, how does mining extraction happen? And I need my ChatGPT to actually explain. I do got the thing that what Donella is trying to say here. Like, Donella is trying to pretty much tell us that let me just first, that, capital stocks lags behind you could, because at the, does my mom called me just? I should tell her not to call me. Okay. It wasn't her. She was calling my younger brother. So yeah. Um. So where were we, guys? Like, yeah, we were at the stock. So let me just use my friend ChatGPT um to not exactly a friend, like my assistant or a tool. But yeah, I think it's like, when I really got into study with the like ChatGPT about a couple years ago, when it was a new thing. I think, like, yeah, back then I really used to think it's something like a human or something, not exactly a human. I started to think like, but then I realized it's just a tokenizer and kind of like tries its best to predict what's gonna be the next outcome. So yeah, so back then I treated it almost like a human, because at the start, I think, when you do not really understand how these technology work, you kind of like project or hallucinate a lot of meaning to them, which pretty much is not there. So you think, okay, this thing right here has something special, and actually the thing is, it's morning right now, and everyone, just everyone, is like waking up, talking to each other downstairs. Though I have ANC, like, it's noise cancellation, so that means I literally do not hear 90% of it. But sometimes what happens It's like you do end up hearing the things you don't want to hear. In fact, my mom would never call me early in the morning because she knows I studies. So until it's urgent or something. So that's why let's just start some music. Like, yeah, to cut off the background noise by 100%. And yeah, you can use my noise platform to actually get it. It's more like a brown noise, right? Yeah, this feels soothing. But actually, I should decrease the gain for you guys because I don't want you guys to actually hear unnecessary noise. Like because I don't. Yeah, you can actually have your own music in the background going on if you really want that much. Yeah. But if you're on phone, you can't do that, can you? So yeah. So we have like ChatGPT now. So let's just so ChatGPT, I was actually going through this concept that the Donella was explaining me, and I was not able to understand how mining capital stock and different things like functions. Like I do got the concept, but what I actually didn't got is like how do people mine? Like first of all, they have a capital stock and they reinvest like what they gained. Like she's like actually already someone like using economics, right? So I do not know how does we actually mine and how do we reinvest the capital stock every year and why after 40 years the capital stock starts to decline because the mining starts to lag. Because I can get the stuff that she's trying to say pretty much. What she's trying to say that it's there's a delay. So at the start, you can pretty much get a lot of amount of like coal, mineral, whatever that you're mining, and then over time, what happens? You keep on reinvesting the stock to get more machine and all that. And now what happens? You've created so many machines. You have so much infrastructure to actually pull that stuff out. Now, but the stuff after 30 or 40 years starts to lag behind. So what she's saying, if every year you just reinvest the 10% into like whatever the profit you got from mining, you just reinvest the 10%. Like after 14 years, the amount of machines or everything you have quadruples or something. That means your production increases by 4 times. But the thing is, like the thing down there keeps on decreasing. So once the stock declines, the capital stock that you have that you're reinvesting is a lot more than compared to the resource that you are actually have. So that starts to lag behind. So over time, you have to like let go of more machines. You have to slow down um the taking out of whatever you're taking out from the minerals and something like that. So I do got the entire concept, but I mean I just want to know more about mining, I suppose. I suppose. Imagine that there's a mountain containing hundreds of tons of coals. Right, shall we increase it, the amount, or decrease it? I can actually, you know what? Let's do this. Right. 100 tons of coal. Your coal in the ground is stock. Your mine extracts coal each year. That's flow. The machines, all of that, they together form a stock called capital stock. Yeah, so all of them is a capital stock. I think I should let you guys see too, but I think I just want to see both of them simultaneously. So I would have to like shift it to my different screen. I'm sorry for that, guys, but I mean, yeah. So we have capital stock, but okay, actually I can do it so like everyone can see it, right? Something like this. It's hard. Actually, no, I have. Since I'm so smart, we can still find a way out. Right? We did find a way out. So the mine extracts gold each year. That's flow. The machine trucks. That's capital. Year one, you have tiny mine, 10 trucks and 1,000 tons a year. The gold is near the surface, easy to get. Profits is good. Year 10, you reinvest profits. You have 50 trucks, 50 better roads, better processing. You extract 10,000. Full stock increase, the production increase, everything looks. You have hundreds of machines, huge infrastructure, thousands. You extract 50,000 tons a year. And more machine, more. So they keep investing. The cost is sinking. Now, the remaining goal is deeper, harder to reach, low quality, farther away. Each time requires more effort. The company don't immediately notice because there's a delay. The profits still look good. The machine are still running. The accountants still see growth. So investment continues. What what delay means? Upon reality change today, Maybe remaining call becomes difficult to read. The company won't instantly react. Why? Because budgets were planned years ago, machines were ordered years ago, workers were hired years ago, investors expect a continued growth. The system is still behaving as if easy call exists. Ah, but one day reality comes back and slaps them on the face and tells them, fuck, wake up. The slap of reality, right? One day, like when you're fucking up with your life, and one day, like a slap from reality comes to you and it tells you you're fucked up, right? That happens all the time. Like on the gym, in relationships, everywhere. Why capital stock eventually decrease? Because here's the imagine you own 1,000 mining machines. Those machines break or rust wear out. Every year they require replacement. More capital stock, the more machine maintenance you need. At first, coal extracted huge, manageable maintenance costs were manageable. Later, the coal falls, maintenance costs keep rising. Eventually, production can no longer support the infrastructure. Then machines aren't replaced, workers are laid off, mine closes, capital stock begins to decline. Not because somebody wanted it, but because the resource can no longer be supported. A useful and think of a tree, the leaves are capital stock. No, I do got the entire thing. So it's like just more investment, resource duplication, dealer recognition, overshot, decline. Yeah, so it's like after some time, they do not expect a delay. So they rather than planning, okay, what if like if we sustain this for 10 years and mine actually depletes out, so we should actually do not increase the infrastructure after some point or at some point, or we could just remove labor once that happens. So it's like you're not expecting a delay or you're not expecting a yeah, but delay is not the resource getting less. Delay is your recognition that the resource has finally depleted. Like, yeah, that's where the delay come from. So that's just basic economics. Balancing people that ultimately will control the growth of capital. The more the capital, the higher the extraction rate, the higher the extraction research stock, the lower the which price is constant and lower the investment rate. Therefore, the lower feeds back through operating cost as well as capital. If in real world, it does both. Yeah, Reese. The ensuing behavior pattern is the same. The cluster dynamic of duplication. The system starts. They got depositing supply initial scale operation for 200 years, but the actual extraction peaks above 40 years because of the surprising effects of exponential growth in extraction. Ah, so like at the like it peaks in 40 years. Like let's say if you have 200 years of operation, the thing is why it peaked at 40 years and then it starts to decline is not because the oil is ending. It's because at the starting 40 years you were actually able to extract all the easy, all the great, all the good stuff. Now everything that is left would take a lot of time, effort, and energy and infrastructure. That is the point. So over the years, like the down you go, the more infrastructure you need, and it's not worth the capital anymore. Rate of 10% per year, the capital stock, and therefore the extraction rate growth by 5% every, so the double in the first 40 years, the double, right? After 20 years here, so like you can see it just goes like boom. Capital stock goes like, okay, capital stock just keeps on rising and it just keeps on declining. Extraction rate, like boom, they like after 40 years, like and you have resource stock that is like something that starts to decline steeply, and after this it starts to decline really slowly because you've extracted all the easy coal and now all the hard stuff in the deeper areas are left, and now you do not have enough capital and resources to actually justify the effort and the energy you're putting into it. But that is only happening because you have oil somewhere else in the world which can be produced and it's being costly produced. If you take away all that, then you got no choice. The capital stock, therefore the extraction rate both grow at 5% per year, so double in the first 14 years. After 28 years, while the capital stock has quadrupled, the extraction is starting to lag because of the falling yield per unit of capital. So we have seen this in the, we have seen an increase. If you were to say, we have seen an, let's say, where's my, like we have seen, like, for example, like this happens all the time. Like for example, I need a webcam. Next month I'm buying a webcam. I just bought a like wireless earphones. Sorry, not earphones. Speakers. No, not speaker. Mic. High quality ones. Right, they were about $100. So yeah, man. Why? Why the fuck? Like they have to be so expensive. But I got them. Like so next month, I would get a Wacom. That's also about $100, and then I'll also get a monitor because I have a birthday, so I'll get two monitors. So that's about a $300 or something. So yeah, I hope my father gives me that next month. But yeah, he would definitely at least. But yeah. So we have like this, and we have this increment. I don't know. I feel like my mom's calling, but she's not, most probably, because if she did, she would just call, right? Yeah. Oh man, she would just call. But I'll just confirm, guys. I'll just confirm. At this rate, I'm gonna be like, oh, is she calling or not? It's better to just confirm. Be right back. Like I'm just here. Oh, it turns out she wasn't calling. She was constantly calling my brother because he wasn't waking up today. So I felt like she was calling me, man. Damn. Yeah. So this is where we were. So it's like you can see like if okay, where was I? What was I explaining again? I was explaining how one thing increase that leads to increase. Oh yeah, I was saying like the very reason, like for example, why they actually like because like the capital stocks starts to decline, like it goes it peaks because when you have taken all the coal and it starts to decline because like now it's not like like because the price is like it's not worth so it's like there's some sort of supply SU double P. Okay. Without a wacom, all of this is really hard, guys. You can understand, right? So I'll get that in next month supply. So if the supply goes down, what happens is like sorry, not supply. Yeah, if the supply goes up, what happens is that you have other mines, you have other area, and you have other countries producing that same coal for very like small price because there's enough coal there. So what happens is like you go and like you mine the stuff, right, for decades. You mine the stuff, and everyone's happy. Everyone's have like the mine and the coal. But let's say if in the world one day like all the mine is depleted, then even if capital stock is still gonna rise and it's not gonna decrease, and extraction rate would not be of course gonna decrease. Extraction rate would of course, but we are gonna still maintain the extraction rate. So unlike there's a steep decline, it's still gonna be like maintained at the end, like no matter what. Now you'll say, okay, Varik, why are they doing that? Even though at some point it's gonna keep on decreasing. But now you'll say, okay, Varik, why are they doing that? Like, why would they do it? And I'm like, if the fuel from every place in the world is extracted, and if there's no better place to extract it, and if then you have no choice to actually extract the only limited fuel because that has some value, right? You need value. You need fuel in wars. You need fuel everywhere. But that's again, if the society or the civilization became too advanced, what happens is that we do not need fuel anymore, like natural fuel. Which would probably we would still need it for the next 100 years, I suppose, or at least for the 50 years before we become too advanced for stuff like that, and we can just use solar energy or something like that, something sophisticated like that to extract huge amounts of energy. Right, we can send things to the space that actually gets a lot of energy for us, like some crafts or something. So we can definitely do that, but we don't necessarily do that, right? And we don't have the technology for that yet. So right now, fuel is a precious resource. That's why it justifies the effort, right? It justifies the effort currently. So that you have to also keep in mind. These things are only happening the way they are happening because society and the world have certain constraints, and because of those constraints, behavior happen to be the way it is. It's not gonna be this way every time. That's the thing. Change the constraints and the behavior changes. That's what the Donella was saying. And there's one thing I realized because how can I be so oblivious? We have concept integrated three. We have stock, feedback, and delay. So the concept integrated at the top you can see is three, not two. Like yeah, because I forgot that stock in itself and the constraints and all that could make it look 4 or 5, but let's not add unnecessarily think. I'm gonna be more like what they call it in English, the one who doesn't actually invest much, like yeah, growth and extraction, and the investment rate of 10% per year, the capital stock therefore. It start to lag behind because of falling. So now the extraction is starting to lag behind. Yep. Actually, no. But I think I should mark this analogy, right? No. Yeah, this glitch happens all the time. Let me just close the app. I will just take. So what happens is like it starts to. I think this is a problem with this PDF extension. Right, this extension works pretty awesome, right? Like, yeah, literally pretty awesome. But sometimes when you click this and off it, it doesn't get off. So you have to like literally close the application, and which take less than 5 seconds. So yeah, I'm not actually bothered by it. Quality shutdowns as a couple stocks decline. I think this happens because of this. And you know what? Let's just delete it. Now you'll say, okay, Varik, why did we delete it? It's because it didn't include the full stop. The last and the most expensive resources stayed in the garage. It doesn't pay to get out. What happens if the orange turns out to be twice as large as the deal you first thought, or 4 times as large? Of course, that makes. But with the continuing goal of 10% per year investment, producing 5% year capital growth, the higher, the faster, the further and further you'll fall when you're building up capital stock on a non-renewable resource. Ah, yeah. So you have actually created such a big fuel extraction mills. Is that what you call it, guys? Right? Not new extraction. That should be fuel. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like yeah, you have this that kind of like extracts. Oh my gosh, you have such an infrastructure going on there. This, you have like entire plant here, then you have entire factories. Oh my gosh, that's why all of this capital stock that was like accumulated because of the earnings from this shit that was actually used back to actually pull it back up. Oh my gosh, you can see you need all that infrastructure for refining it and all that, and now this mine has ended, so all of this capital stock that you ended up building is kind of useless. You see what I'm trying to say? It's like now, because like the thing is, like if you have like a mine in about 100,000, like 1,000 kilometers away, you've of course not gonna take all of that extraction that you had 2,000 kilometers away to that, to this industry, right? This was must be created around the mine, somewhere at least close within 10 kilometers or like within 100 kilometer reach, right? So that's, oh my gosh, right? So we have this like, yeah, problem. Hmm. If your concern is to extract the resource and make money, then the ultimate size of resource is the most important number in the system. Concern is stability of it. Then there are two important numbers: the size of the resource. I mean, crucial. The real choice in management of non is whether to get very rich very fast or get longer. Ah, you have only two choices: either to quickly extract all of it, get all the money, or to slowly extract a little bit of money every time. each doubling of the makes it 14 years in the peak time. So this is when it peaked. This is when it peaked. This is when it peaked. And the more the resource there is, the more non-linear the growth is. Oh my gosh! Because the bigger the resource pool that you have, the more the investments like that you can literally do to actually just make it keep on increasing again and again, like a bad boy or something, right? Like, oh my gosh, that is the main thing, guys. Like, literally. So the bigger the pool that you have, the bigger it is. So like the more exponential the growth would be compared to the other people. Like because now, my neck. Because like oh yeah, because it's like each time there's a the bigger the pool, the more machines, the more factory, the more everything can be get quad like if it's quadruple, you can get quadruple people to actually work on it and even more. So because you have the capital to actually keep on hiring new and new and new and new and stuff, the more there is, the more you'll be able to extract quickly, right? Because like yeah, then the less there is, the less exponential growth. But yeah, I think yeah, it's just yeah, man. 7% capital with 5% with 3% with 1% capital growth. If you have it's like okay, it's like how fast the capital growths depend. So it's like either you have like the option A, get real rich real fast. Option B, do not get real rich real fast, like get slightly rich slightly slow, get even slightly slower, or get 1%. Damn, that's like that's like the only option you got, right? This one's actually a lot informative, right, guys? Hmm. The graph in the figure 40 shows that the development of extraction rate over time, given desired growth rates above depreciation, varying from 1% annually to 3%, 5%, 7%. Peaks within 40. So it's not a 200-year supply, because if you think that way, you start to kind of like keep more capital into back into like you keep on reinvesting the capital and the extraction just keeps on increasing. When the effects of this choice not only on the profit of the company but on the social and national. Earlier I said I will make the simplifying that the price was constant. Suppose that in the higher price won't decrease demand. Users get scared and price rises steeply, as shown. Higher profits, so the investment goes up. The capital start continue rising. The more, meaning a resource can be. Compare figure 1, figure 41. They are abandoned mining towns and oil fields over the world to testify to reality of the behavior of insane resource companies understand this well Effective in one place. Company shift investment to discovery. Use the more. So the more you're dependent on the look at what she says here, guys. Look at what she says here. Like this entire paragraph, right? It talks about the harder you'll depend on something, the greater the fall. Anti-Fragile by Nicholas Taleb. Have you read that book? Redundancy. That's what he introduced in the book. Exactly. Okay, redundancy is a concept in which you do not depend on multiple things. So, for example, I have mic one and I have mic two, right? So it's like if like if let's say I woke up tomorrow morning and if this mic doesn't work, that mic is pretty awesome too. I can just put it here attached to like something like a stand or something, and I can just scream and start saying, right? It's like this is what we call redundancy. It's like you're not just dependent on this, you're dependent on that too. You have another. So if this dies out, you have another. But even both of them dies out. My headphone also has a good microphone, so I can also use that, though the quality may shift a little bit. And then I'm also ordering some like wireless mic that I can use to actually record there or like move around the world or something like yeah. So I have 4 mics in total. Like, yeah, this one, let's not include this one because this is not a professional mic, just a normal mic with an average voice. So I have 3 mics already. And in those 3 mics, the one that is coming out is like 2 mics included in it. Like, because these companies, the expensive ones, they actually have not 1 mic, but 2 mic included. So even if the one actually dies or decreases, like, or destroys, I have 4 mics in total. Right. So that means this is what we call a redundancy. That means I'm not dependent onto just one stuff. I'm dependent on multiple stuff. So even if some stuff actually gets destroyed, who cares? Nothing stops. And you can build or buy another stuff. So the same goes with the camera. I have one camera of the laptop, one camera of that, but of course laptop camera is kind of trash. So I only have one camera, but then again, OBS can be connected to my phone camera. Right. So I already have a stand, so I can just put my phone up there, like there, and I can just record myself. See what I'm trying to say? So this is what you can call redundancy. I only have one monitor, so if this monitor is gone, I have to just work with this. So this is not replaceable. But the thing is, if I have the capital stock, which I literally don't have, and I'm dependent on my father, I do not have that much redundancy. Even if I have multiple gadgets, I have another extra keyboard. The last one never got destroyed. I have another mouse. So it's like even if let's say I'm like live streaming right now and a mouse got destroyed, I do not stop the process. See, like I can just get another mic, and this is what redundancy is. Like the more you're dependent onto the extraction, the more you're dependent onto the resource stock. What happens when the resource stock starts to decline? You are fucked. See what I'm saying? So it's like the more I'm dependent on the production of a stream onto a laptop and a computer, and there's like a global mirror. Like so I'm dependent on metal production, I'm dependent on Taiwan for producing chips, I'm dependent on companies like Samsung, Lenovo, HP, LG to produce these laptops and monitors. I'm dependent on them. So the more so they are like a stock. There's a business, there's a machine that produce stocks for me, and I'm dependent on those stocks. And I produce stocks myself that the people buy. I get money. I use that money to get all this. I'm dependent onto them. They're dependent onto me for my capital. This is like a good chain. Like both of them are dependent onto each other. If one of them dies, there's so many companies I can shift the companies. But if all of the companies dies because Taiwan is not producing chips anymore, then entire economy, global economy gets affected because the more you're actually dependent onto some stock that is produced because Taiwan produces silicon. So more you're producing onto silicon and then like your silicon resource stock, right? If silicon's got bottlenecked, or if they stop producing silicon because there's no silicon left, then you're kind of fucked. And you're not just fucked, you're fucked. See what I'm saying? So this is what she says at the start. The further will be economic fall on the backside of production peak. Okay, I need to go washroom real quick, and you can think about this on your own head. It's like the more dependency you have on a stock, the more fucked you are when that stock is gone. In simple terms. Let me just quickly do that, actually, Yeah, I'm back. I'm back, guys. And here's the thing. Redundancy is not cheap. Like, so like depend as you see that the point is like you the more you try to have like the more you try to get redundancy, it's expensive as fuck. Like I still regret buying multiple mics, and I could have just bought the one. I literally told that in the last live stream because I didn't know what condenser mics are. I didn't know that like headphones mic were really good, so I bought a new mic that was condenser mic, right? Because at the start I thought, okay, I can just have a headphone mic and the headphone, and I can just stream like using that. Because there was this one guy who was doing exactly that, but then I realized you have to buy super expensive headphones to actually achieve that. So I had to buy another mic, and that mic just ended turns out to be a condenser mic. Condenser mic actually absorbs a lot of information. Sorry, a lot of noise from the environment, so they're not that bad. You have to get them really close and stuff like that, and they're not really best for the podcast. And then I bought another mic, and then I realized I cannot take this mic everywhere, right? Like I even bought a mic stand right here, but then I realized it's very much efficient for me to just have a stand like this than a stand like this one. So you see what I'm trying to say here repeatedly is like information delay caused me to mess it up, but I could actually recover for it because I wasn't too much dependent on the capital that I have. I have a big amount of capital pooled, not me, my dad, and he had enough money to buy all the stuff for me without much problem. Even like, yeah, there's not even a like slightly problem. That's because we had capital, because we were not too much dependent on a small pool of capital, because there was enough big of capital, right? But we are dependent on it. So one day if my dad doesn't earn it, and if I cannot afford to make these mistakes, the fall would be harder, right? Because I cannot afford to make, and this is the thing, redundancy, the ability to even have multiple things, right? And these things really help. Like right now I have a stand, and this one's also help if I'm like, wants like the setup to be different area or something. So this will come use in future. That might comes like useful when I'm actually just talking to like multiple people. Say like one is connected to this and that is connected to that. I'll explain that later. And when I'm recording there, I can just got a like new mic that can actually attach to my like to my t-shirt or something. But what I'm pretty much trying to say is redundancy in itself is expensive. Let's say you're dependent on to like one job. Like having multiple job is hard. Having multiple flow like cash like flow of cash flow is hard. Like there's people who out there who have a YouTube channel and they invest right in property or maybe in something like that, and then they have a business. It's like that is a fucking sigma organism, because that organism has three redundant systems producing three different type of capital flow. So the amount of like to ruin that organism would took a lot more effort than ruining me. All you have to do is kill my dad. I'm fucked. And that guy has a YouTube channel. You can't kill millions of people to fuck him over, right? You can't. So it's like, of course, yeah, you can just directly kill him. But it's like, if you do want to fuck him over, he has different routes. He has different abilities. Like, so for example, if my brother comes and he's angry at me and he breaks this mic, I have another mic. Condenser mic are not that bad if you actually get them close. I already own another mic yesterday, which is coming today, right? A wireless one. So it's like, it's hard to fuck me over. I have the headphones, right? So in the worst case, I can just go with them. It's harder to fuck me over because I have redundancy, right? Though no one is actually trying to fuck me over. That's the thing. Like, yeah, I have no enemies, but like nor friends. But that's you see what I'm trying to say here, right? Redundancy works like a charm. I think where does the idea originated from? If I'm right, it originated from Anti-Fragility by Nicholas Taleb. Let me just check that out. New chat. Okay, ChatGPT. Where the idea of redundancy originated from? Does it originate from like anti-fragility? In the book Anti-Fragile by Nicholas Taleb, or was it like from somewhere else? Because in anti-fragility, okay, it doesn't hurt anything. What I was saying. Why is it not hearing anything properly anymore? Hello, hello. Yeah, it's not. It's not working. Why? Is it because the gain is too much, or is it too little? It's, I guess, good enough. So ChatGPT, could you actually tell me where this idea of redundancy originated from? Does it originate from Nicholas Taleb, the guy who wrote the Anti-Fragility book? I'm so challenged, pretty. Could you actually tell me where this idea of redundancy originated? Does it originate Nicholas Taleb, the guy who wrote the entire Fragility book? Anti. So now even this is like, I think something is happening with the. I don't think so. It's the mic, right? So ChatGPT says the idea of redundancy is much older than Nicholas Taleb. You can look at it right here. It's much older than Nicholas Taleb. Taleb popularized the concept of fertility. He didn't invent it. Billions of years old. Nature is full of redundancy. You have two kidneys, but can survive without two lungs. Many neurons perform overlapping functions, multiple pathways, metabolism. Evolution often favors systems that are not maximally efficient but are resilient. A deer with exactly enough blood to survive is fragile. A deer with extra capacity survives injuries. This is one of the deepest lessons of systems that survive tend to sacrifice efficiency for resilience. Oh my god. And yeah, survive. Like yeah, like we are not talking about exponential growth here. We're talking about just survival. So the guy that has one stock company and the guy that has three different channels of cash flow, guess who survives the hardest in the next century, right? I mean, it's like the guy with maybe who's just only focused at like AI related investment, they can fall hard. Like one investment, one wrong investment, and they're fucked. But the guy with multiple cash flow, with the one with the YouTube channel, with the business, with the that one actually persists for a lot longer, because for him to fall you need to have businesses that must fall, you need to have YouTube that must fall, you need to have investment that must fall. Like yeah, so you must have three fall down at the same time. Only then he would actually fall down. So the chances of him surviving is catastrophically higher than the guy who's only dependent. Like one stock market crash and that guy's fucked. Engineering. Engineer discovered the single point of failure kill system. Example artifact, the backup control system. Power grids have multiple transmission paths. Spacecrafts often have redundant computers. A bridge designed with no margin for error may be efficient but dangerous. Reliability theory, information theory, cloud. A major milestone came from Shah. He showed communication system needs redundant. Hello. The message is corrupted. The receiver can construct the. So if you. Huh? What? 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 I can't catch that. Huh? Ah. Ah. Multiple channels. So it's like if you have one channel and that one channel says hello and then the path gets corrupted, but if you have a same channel saying to you three times hello, 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 the path you're like it would become extremely harder for you to not get the message. Right. So it's like if you're reading one book and if you're reading three books on the same topic like diet, it gets much harder to be fooled. Cybernetic system theory thinkers like version Donella over buffers, reserve slack, excess capacity. Interesting. Medulla talks stock buffers delays, which are forms of redundancy. Buffers. What is buffers? Still didn't got that topic. That's another concept we've coming up across, I guess. A reserve contains more water than immediately needed. A warehouse stores more inventory than immediate. The redundant resources protecting the system from shocks. If someday, yeah. Appears insufficient is often what. Oh. Having having multiple mics doesn't actually feels like really a good leap, but having a wireless mics that allows you to, having a wireless mic. So now let's say if I go to a different city, like for one day, I can still stream even though I won't be able to show my face. But like yeah, and if I had a better like better laptop with a really good camera, I could still stream when I'm on like a different city, right? It's like because I have multiple mics, I have a wireless one, the wired one, so I don't have to carry this one, so I can just carry a wireless mic on a small capsule or something, and I can just get that. Oh my gosh! So now the system survived. The system of streaming and live streaming and the YouTube survives because yeah, this is why laptops are far more efficient than computers, because laptop can be easily transported and you can still do the job or the stuff that you needed to do, right? That's why you can get the same spec you get in a laptop compared to like you can get better specs in a computer. I think at this point it's kind of clear that if you build a PC, you can get better specs than what you get in a laptop, right? Let's say I have like I have a 1 lakh worth, like I have $100,000 worth of $100,000. That's just too much. I have like $2,000 worth of a laptop or something. I can get way better specs for $2,000. I'm not kidding at this point. For like yeah. But I guess laptop companies are actually getting better and better producing those kind of stuff. Right. But still, yeah, laptop is far more redundant than a computer. But computer is far more redundant too because you can literally replace any part of the computer. So if one system is like throttling you, not the entire system dies out. This is another redundancy is computer. In computer, in laptops you can sustain a system across different areas or across different environment. But with computers, you cannot sustain across different environment, but it's more redundant when it comes to efficiency. Your computers last longer than laptop. Like and computer are sealed. You can have like a glass wall on a laptop. You can't have that on a computer if it's completely sealed. Computers are anti-fragile in the environment they are, but they cannot actually they do not survive the environmental shifts. You remove redundancy because they worship efficiency. People worship efficiency, right? Running business with zero inventory, carrying excessive debt, optimizing schedule so there's no spare time. Oh yeah, that is like yeah. You need a spare time. Building supply chains with no slack. These systems look impressive until shock arrives. Then they collapse. Talib reframed redundancy as insurance against uncertainty. You don't know how the future is gonna go, and you can never predict what kind of conditions you'll have. Redundancy, right? For example, I'm going on to my relatives about this weekend, right? On Saturday, I have a laptop. I can just take the laptop and still continuously read the book there too, and then actually stream with the mic that I'm getting today. Redundancy. I didn't knew that when I was like buying a laptop. I didn't knew that when I was buying a mic. But this is just one example. Now let's connect that to not just laptop or mic to everything. Connection is the most important. Compression is the most important thing. Insurance against uncertainty. When you have multiple cars, multiple vehicles, multiple bikes, that's when you have multiple ACs in a house. That's all of that is insurance against uncertainty. When you have extra enough capital stock, like rather than actually getting all of that as extra, just having extra money saved in the bank account acts as an intense amount of insurance all the time. Yeah, a deeper observation. Many people is waste, but in system that is often fault. Resource that provide no value, efficiency, just enough resource for expected condition, redundancy, extra resource that provide unexpected conditions. I never knew I'm gonna go to relatives. I never know if I'm gonna get sick any like next morning. I actually used up all of my saving for the wireless mics, right? So now I can't buy like if I had like let's say there was some offer online that allowed me to buy let's say a Wacom that got 50% off. I won't be able to do that because I don't have extra resources. Redundancy. Looks like waits until the day it saves the system. Yeah. If you've been either got the stock or isn't, instantly system theory version of Talib calls redundancy. Maintaining surplus capacity to absorb entropy, shock, and uncertainty. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. That's a good insight that we had. Like a really good insight. Yeah. Should I keep track of insight too, guys? Like insight that I had, the number of insights that we had. This is one insight that we had. Really good one. Actually, no. Mm-hmm. But insight is proportional, right? I can have a lot of insight. You can have no insight at all because you have experience what I've experienced, right? So let's just leave insight for a sec. Oh, it's empty. And as you guys already know, if you're like watching me for like yeah some time, I just drink too much water when I'm streaming. That's why I have to go washroom every fucking 1 hour or something. Because like since the morning, I've drank about 2 liters of like fucking like yeah 2 liters since the morning. Like and that's like there are people who drink about 2 to 3 liters in the entire day. I complete about 5 to 6 liters, man. Oh man. Okay, let's eat some rice. I guess it's my time. I already actually brought them up. They're cold by now, most probably, but let's just take a break. I'm gonna eat some rice. Right, guys? Don't mind me though. Yeah. Okay. It's hard heating here. Mm. I'm decreasing the gains. I'm decreasing the gain so you do not unnecessarily need to hear my chewing sound, I suppose. But this one actually was a really good insight, honestly. Like the one we had here. Like, renewable resources. Mm-hmm. Hmm. They have a reinforcing feedback loop. Yeah, but they do so by actually constantly extracting from environment. So there's a stabilizing loop again there. But like we have plants which have pretty much dominated the planet, so they can regenerate themselves. They can regenerate themselves using those plants. That's why it works out pretty efficiently, if I were to say. That's why we can constantly feed them off, if we feed off of them. And for centuries, we've done that consistently. Hmm. There's an input that keeps on refilling. So there's an inflow to the stock you're constantly trying to extract from. Unlike fossil or like unlike mining or like fuel extraction. How is it? How does this concept apply to a lot of different things? Can we think about those things, guys? If we try. How Yeah. By the way, tonight I again sleep less because of my girlfriend. I told you, right? She's kind of pain in the ass at this point. Just responding to my friend. Yeah, time to get back to eating. Not what do I will get back to reading. If you're watching this, you can skip it to the point when I'm actually conveying something, but I would recommend you to not skip because you know. By the way, is it just me that the rice are the best in this universe? Like, yeah, for real. But okay, the regeneration rate of a fish is not constant or depending on number of fish in the area, fish density. If further deplete breeds no fast. Ah, but fish is also dependent on certain constraints, right? Mm-hmm. But slower and slower. That's because the fish can find each other, or because another species have moved into its niche. So there are there's two loop. There's one. This is like there's never stable growth. What? Reality work more in like runaway loops, and there's like stabilizing loop. They hardly get stabilized. It's like everything want to get runaway loop. No, it's not like everything wants to be runaway loops or something. I suppose that's a bad analysis, but it's like everything can become runaway a loop if you just actually change the conditions by yourself. It's kind of true. Mm-hmm. Advantage of unused nutrition. Its maximum, but the population is further depleted. The breeds not farther, but slower and slower. By the new. Capital efficiency. This is the basic loop that we had at the start. The point is to grow the capital, so we invest more in capital. Capital lifetime. Yeah, because in economics, they don't call capital money, they call capital all the. And by the way, in economics, I mean, give me a short answer. In economics, they call capital like the machines and the resources that you have, rather than calling it money, right? In economics, they call capital capital because I mean, it's not the real money capital. It's the one that you like, the one that you use to like the machines and the all that different kind of stuff is what they consider capital. I mean, the bigger problem is my mic is not actually like my mic is working perfectly, but the chat Jeopardy online maybe or like the Whisper Flow these days is not working. Why? Maybe because there's some connection issue. Damn, something bad is happening. I don't know. OBS is working pretty fine, right? I can hear my voice pretty clearly, right? Is it that low? Oh no, it's the. I think. Let me just. Where is it? Yeah. So now I can hear myself pretty clearly. Yeah, the voice is pretty alright. Definitely alright. Oh, it's hard to actually speak when you're actually listening to yourself. Now I'm not listening to myself, and yeah, I pretty much decreased the gain too much because I was eating the food. So I should increase them. I get it. I get it. I should increase the gains. Right. But yeah, let's come back to it. Like in everyday language, I need capital to start business. They usually mean money. According to system about capital stock, they usually mean machine. Physical capital. I see what everyone means now. Is that my hair? Oh, that is my hair of my eyelashes. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like a total capital in the system, right? So rather than just seeing it like a, you know, It's like a total capital in the system for some reason. Because the thing is, I would say the real thing is that you get investment that becomes capital. The capital leads to some harvest. All right. The harvest is what deplete the resource, but because of the harvest, you have like a yield per capital, like and I don't get how yield per capital, yield per unit capital leads to harvest, because it's like, oh yeah, yield per unit capital. Okay, so how much money do you get per unit capital, which leads to harvest, which is the amount of the thing you have, and it's like price, and then there's profit, and like because like yeah, and that profit leads to more investment, but investment doesn't necessarily mean that capital in every sense is growing. Like the cash, the instruments, it's like the entire capital that you had it includes different kinds of capital, like financial, physical, human, whatever the capital you have keeps on increasing because you keep on investing in different sorts of capital. Feeding yourself food because the profit you had is also improving the capital that you have, because now you're improving your health or something like that. See what I'm trying to say? I'll go for pee though. When did I highlight this? No, I didn't highlight this. Many different sort of behaviors. Hmm. Hmm. But here's the thing: when they extend, oh my gosh, they never, because they are getting less and less, and they regenerate, and you have good equipment, so you can still find them. They get less and less, and then you have good equipment, so you can still get them, right? But over time, because you have such a good amount of, like, and the resource, everything collapses. A capital stock maintains itself after some time, but resource stocks also start. That happens because resource stock starts to maintain itself. That's why harvest rate maintains itself. That's why capital stock maintains itself. Yet we have what happens if you overshot, but then you stop because like you are now finding that much, fishes. So now they're not too much because the resource stock has declined too much. So now what happens? It's harder for you to actually hunt them. But if the technology keeps on improving, you still keep on fucking hunting them rather than allowing them to regenerate, right? Because now you have to stop because like the resource stock has declined too much, so you don't have the technology to fucking hunt them, for hunt the fish. But now what happens is that fish is like so down, but still you have the resource. So now as soon as they regenerate a little, you fucking good pull them down again. They regenerate a little, you fucking pull them down again. See what I'm trying to say? So the most advantageous position in this system would be to actually start harvesting the fish at somewhere around here when it's growing, and then opt out and do something else entirely, a different job when it's here, and then come back again, and then come and repeat that fucking process, and you fucking win the game of capital, like in fish industry. I got a P reel back, guys. I got a P reel back. I'm back. Hmm. I think I should complete my food first. I'm not able to do anything. Neither read nor eat. Literally. But I just can't stop reading. This is so addictive. Now you fuck themselves over because now you don't have the ability to reproduce. The renewable stock will decline so much that it goes in extinct because they cannot find a mate. And this is a balancing feedback loop. The thing is, the system can maintain itself. It can maintain itself and maintain some sort of consistency. Here too, like yeah, the harvest rate declined, but they do not decline catastrophically. Now you maintain a harvest rate. But here, the oscillation become more because you have improvement technology. Right. So but here it just declines because now you have too much good technology to actually hunt down every fucking fish that is available. Lack of genetic diversity. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I never thought of that way. Exposed soils may be vulnerable to erosion. Or perhaps the depleted resource can survive and rebuild itself again. Here, this reading system here, overshot and adjustment system. Well, equilibrium. Equilibrium. Overshot beyond equilibrium. Oscillation around it. Over it. And I think a lot of smart people must have made that goddamn mistake. I should eat first, but well, who cares at this point? So it always declines when you have like a so it always declines, right? It always kind of declines. If I were to show you. When it comes to non-renewable resources, but when it comes to renewable resources, it kind of like can stabilize itself, but it can decline or goes down to decline, which outcome really occurs depend on two things. First is the critical threshold beyond which the response potential. Whoa, we completed the chapter 2 in just how many days? How many chapters are there in the book? Sorry, but we do not need tags. There's a system and us. Right, so we have done part 1 of the book, part 2, and there's part 3. So I think for a major part, I was just revisioning what we were doing. So I think we are kind of moving ahead in this world. So yeah, I mean, how many days did it take? It took us about 5 days to complete the part 1 and part 2. Sorry, part 1 and start the part 2. So yeah, it's not that bad. I think part 2 would take about 5 days. The book is about 15 days, so we would be able to complete 2 books in a month, I guess, or 1 book at least in a month. Yeah, and our philosophy. Yeah, so which outcome actually occurs depends on two things. The first is the critical threshold beyond which the resource population ability to regenerate itself. Second is rapidly effective of balancing loop that slows capital because the resources become depleted. If the feedback is fast enough to stop, there's a critical threshold reached, the whole system comes smoothly into equilibrium. Balancing feedback is slower and less effective, the system oscillates. If the balancing loop is very slow, the capital can go on growing even as the resource is reduced below its threshold ability to regenerate itself. The resource and the industry both collapses. Damn, this is the summary gives us to by our best Zanella, I suppose. I don't know why I'm getting such big spoons or something. I'm beautiful. And yeah, because you can change conditions. Right, that is the most central insight that we have here. You can change the conditions that are deriving that specific behavior that you do not desire or do not want to even be derived, right? It shows an error. Why? Why does it show an error? Oh, my internet connection goes poor. YouTube is not resuming video to maintain. Will experience buffers. That's all right, honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, so I was just watching my own stream. I don't know why. It felt good. We are making some progress. Okay. That trick is that now let's get back to job. Or the trick, as with all the behavior possibility of a complex system, is to recognize, yeah, bias in the system. So, is there a way that I'm forgetting about the delays and about how there's a pattern and how there's a set of possible behaviors that these systems have? You know, resource system enjoy or overheat or harvest depends on what happens during the time when the resource is severely depleted. May become especially vulnerable to pollution or storm or lack of genetic diversity if this is the forest. Yeah, so isolation happens, how resource stocks saw the decline, what happened to capital stock, what happens when it reaches like oscillation, when you have good enough technology to decrease it to some degree, and after that one point you can't find them, they kind of like increase themselves. This is when the technology is too good and when you can just make the fish goes extinct, and this is when you or have really bad technology, it kind of like stabilizes itself. My systems work so well. Aldo Leopold Forrester. If the land mechanism as a whole is good, then every part is good, whether we understand it or not. If it's biota in our course of Ionis has built something we like but do not understand, with a fool would discard seemingly useless part to keep every cog in wheel. What the hell is this guy trying to say? Literally no idea. But then we have my one friend called ChatGPT. I'm actually going to speak less now because I will be focused more on reading. Because I think after some eating food, you do get tired, huh? Well, that's me. Ah. Oh, with the ecos species that appear useless may be feeding other species, pollinating plants, maintaining soil health, controlling population, performing a role nature has been evolving for millions. So be careful before you assume you understand enough to remove species from it. Oh my gosh. Warning about unseen feedback loops. Ah, you know, I did the exact same mistake in the past. It's gonna make me cry. Do not remove things you do not understand. I tried a good education system when I was trying to 17 because I thought it was useless. But back then, I didn't understand it is the only way where you can cheat status. So what happens is like in education right now we are reading this book. I've been reading for the last 1 years, but what happens? I've read so much stuff. I've understood so much stuff, right? And I'm keep on gonna reading for the next decade because I think reading in itself compounds the hardest. But reading in itself, if it's not coupled to let's say stock money or something in real life, it doesn't lead to money. I thought learning in itself had a lot of value, and it will allow me to, and it has. That's why I'm able to pick up what's to do with the future, with the kind of stuff. But what happened is like I'm not, back then I didn't understand the importance of education system because like if you remove education system from life or you quit high school or something, what happens is that it's like a lot of time it's not like yeah people have overvalued high school because like I've read books on productivity. I've booked like from simple to deep work to like the books that kind of explains like how circadian like why we sleep to circadian rhythms and different stuff like that and how energy levels maintain themselves glucose like there's like a burnout that I read about and there's like yeah so all different kind of stuff that I read about. There's a book called Burn, if you know, it's a really good one. And there's like a physical fitness training I talk about, which talks about bodybuilding and stuff like that, energy levels, and I like a book there too, like the health training pyramid. It's famous if you want to get started into resistance training and bodybuilding. But I've read these books and I realized okay, education system is kind of trash when it comes to their schedules and different things like that. You're supposed to do the most important work in the morning, the least important work in the night, and this is how it should work or something like that, right? But then I started to realize the how education system were really efficient. I removed it without even knowing. First of all, they cheated delay. So now you'll say, okay, now I'm going to explain exactly in system thinking. For example, someone like me, we have to work for 3 years, right? 3 or 4 years before we get results, before we get big amount of money. Of course, right? It takes time. Education systems cheats that. You are performing good, you get good grades, everyone claps for you, everyone is happy, your parents is happy, you're gonna get the new laptop, new computer, you're gonna get praised. When you're isolated or when you're lonely like me, like or when you're doing everything by yourself, you're planning, okay, what kind of books are better, what should read, what should not to be need, where should attention go. You're planning all that by yourself, which is kind of hard, and education systems suck at that. Majority of the stuff is kind of useless, but what they do very efficiently than these system is they cheat delay. If you perform really well, you have high status, everyone respects you in your classroom. That speaks for itself, and humans are supposed to, like, are status seeking creature whether you like it or not. That's why that kind of stabilizes the ego and a sense of self. Trust me, there's something that this delay, this vacuum of feedback where you're constantly putting in effort. Like for example, education system, you put in effort, there's a result, everyone claps. Here you put in effort, you just understood the concept better. No one claps, no one looks, no one knows, no one understands. You're alone. See? This is the thing, that education system works, like, cheats so well, right? And then another thing is the degree is like, it gives this sense of prestige where there is no prestige, because everyone said they studied the same thing, everyone understood the same thing. There's no leverage, there's no gain, there's no power, there's no asymmetry. Right, because everyone knows the same thing. Like, it's just that someone knows it better than you do, and majority of them are already gonna forget what the same thing they knew. But still, like, for example, the high performers has a better degree, so they're like considered prestige. Like, so that's why it creates the sense that I'm special. But you're not special. Special are the people who actually read the stuff you don't even understand. That I'm doing right now, system thinking. Right. So it does that, so it gives a sense of like stability. And another thing is like, it allows people to actually put you in the predictive model. So what, like, if you say, okay, I'm just working on my life and trying to read books and trying to do something and find out my own way, they don't understand it. It's unpredictable. It scares them. It makes them feel like that you are not like doing anything with your life, that you're just rotting it all away or something like that, which is kind of like, yeah, what happens normal. So you lose respect unnecessarily, even if you have not done nothing bad. People underestimate you, or sometimes your friend makes fun of you. So this is what happens when you, oh yeah, not sometimes, all the time. So this is what happens when you, and you have to like stop going to friends after some time, and that makes you even more lonely. It's like, so there's like a runaway loop that happens here, and then you can kind of get used to it. It takes a lot of time to actually adapt and not listen to what people are saying, and to be fine with what you think is all right, right? But that's like a capital in stock in itself that takes a lot of time to build, because you are in this conditions where you just have to build it, or you just have to like quit it, right? So I was here. So yeah, I removed education system without even knowing anything that it was doing. I thought it was just useless. I just looked at its negative parts, not at the useful part that it had, and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I still think, if you were to give me the choice to go back to education, or if I were the same 15-year-old kid thinking about building a startup, like, I'm 18 right now, I haven't done anything related to that closely. Like, yeah, the only thing I've done is like reading books, and now I've started coding, and now I've started a YouTube channel, and I'm going to produce more on it. Right. But back then, if you were to say me, like, would I choose, like, if I would have known what I know now, if I would have read all that I've read now, what kind of choice would I make? I would still leave the education system. In fact, I would leave it earlier. Then I would not wait till 17 and then convince my dad to just let me be alone after high school. No, I'm just gonna leave it, at 15. Like, I'm just gonna leave it. I do not see any value in it, and I'm gonna prove it to you, the one who are watching, that there is no value, and there's a lot that can be done without education systems. Like, yeah, but at the start it's hard, because you never were taught like that. You were always taught that, you know that you need to compete, that you need to like look at other people, what they're doing, and be outsmart them, be the one that like scores high. Though that's not how society functions. Society functions on asymmetry, ownership, capital. Like, it works in a entirely different way that your parents teach us. It's education system is one of the I don't even want to get started at it. Walls are useless, the weed is useless. Mm. Understand consequences, and I didn't understand the consequences, and it took a lot of time for me to build discipline. It took a lot of time to me shape my own life, because education system also stop you from this complexity to make decisions, because everything is in front of you. And when you leave education system, decision explodes. You can do coding now, you can do editing now, you can do designing, you can do every little thing, and you don't know what to do anymore. Like, yeah, because in education system, if you have good grades, good job, good money. Here, everything must be chosen, everything must be iterated. You must, like, oh my god, you build your entire life for yourself. My choice to go to gym, my choice to actually do cardio, my choice to eat healthy stuff, like stop eating trash stuff. All of the choices that I made, it forces you to choose every single thing by yourself. You are the chooser. The books that I read, there's so much, like, man, trust me, it took me a lot of time before I was choosing this book. It took me, like, I spent days choosing for the one perfect book, because I've read so many stuff, and after you've read so many stuff, and after you're done with the popular stuff, you start to realize some books just are better, and gives more asymmetric leverage and understanding about the world, society, population, and everything, like neuroscience, biology, every fucking thing. And those books are hard, scarce, and hard to find, and are scarce, and you had to choose for them, right? But that's what gives edge, because the more you choose, the more you have this ability to choose the better things, because you are the fun finally start to choose, right? See what I'm trying to say here? Yeah, I would still always say, like, that education systems are kind of trash. Chapter 2, introduce simple system that The buffeting. May well fall apart exhibit. What matters more and what matters the least? Hierarchy, self-organization. How does all of those things components organize? Resilience. Can it survive the things? Hmm. Loses its ability to stop. This book is so good. That was a really good insight. Resilience, self-organization, or hierarchy. My room is extremely cold now for some reason, so we're gonna turn off the AC. So what ChatGPT was saying is like there are all the times when we kind of like remove small small, like, small setbacks, small resistance, small stresses. Like, for example, like one of the biggest example he gave was like, when you take a child, for example. So if a child is exposed to dirt, microbes and pathogens, develop stronger immune systems, right? Because that kind of like gives the ability. And that same happens with the gym analogy. You lie all day in the bed, you create the perfect like, constancy, like whatever they call it, and it's like the stability. But stability is that, like, not that it's like volatile stability is like volatile is like there's some slight instability in stability itself. If it's too stable, like, and we worship too much stability, right? Lying down in a bed, relaxed, in winter too, like, some small stressors actually makes the body better and it allows us to adapt. Weak tree dies, insects attack, storms knock things down. I mean, for example, when we do this like terror, like when we do cold exposure, right? In winters too, like humans used to feel get exposed to cold all the time, which used to regulate nervous system very inefficiently, right? It was a natural cold exposure, but we don't have that anymore. We have like heaters, we have everything that we need. So that's the real thing, right, guys? Like if you are still exposed to some sort of stressors, like nothing bad's accumulate. We kind of like overestimate that yeah, we kind of like worship stability. Resilience is many good humor. To absorb, like, yeah, to grow back from shocks, to survive and persist within a variable environment. The opposite of resilience, bitterness, or rigid within a. So it's like how elastic you are, how resilient you are. So can you persist in an environment that is constantly changing, in an economy that is constantly adapting, or different stuff like that? Resilience arrives from a rich structure of many feedback loop that can work in a different way to restore a system even after a long perturbation. Variable. The environments were constantly variables are changing because of conditions that yeah, are changing. Is from a rich structure of many feedback loop that can work in different ways to restore systems even after long perturbation. Being was such loops operating through different mechanisms at different time scales with redundancy. A set of feedback loop that can restore or rebuild feedback loop is resilience. LS. Aha, now I'm okay. That was like an accident, guys. A feedback. One of such feedback loop is sleep, exercising. Meta resilience come from. Variables control a wider range of temperature and wide variations can reallocate blood supply, repair. All of them compensate to some extent for missing or deficit power. Self-organized intelligence that can learn, socialize, design, even transplant body parts, have a formidably resilient system, although not infinitely so, because so far at least no human we really have to keep itself or any other body for systems that are also remarkably resilient. Multiple applying a decline over time in response to weather and the impacts of human activities. learn and evolve through their incredible rich genetic system to take advantage of changing opportunities for life support. Resilience is not the same thing as constant over time. Resilience system can be very dynamic. Short-term oscillations, actors are isolation. Ah, can be unresilient. The distinction between static stability and resilience is important. With some of the common metabolic energy from other bodies. The less long-lived, more dependent on human rhythm. Hundreds of years of intensive. let's do a break, guys. About 20 minutes. I've been reading for about 1.5 hours at least. If you remove the half an hour for different stuff that I did, why system works still so well? Because they have resilience, they have self-organization, and they're but resilience is still kind of vague. Like they still do not explain much of resilience. I mean, it's vague. I mean, like when you say the distinction between static and resilience is important. No, where was the definition that Donald added? The ability to bounce back or spring back in a shape, position, etc. after being pressed or stressed. Elasticity, that means feedback that constantly keep stock back up even in conditions where it would have been impossible to keep or maintain the stock, right? How do you maintain mental stability using feedback? How do you? What kind of feedback do you cooperate in, and what kind of feedback you can work with? That's another thing. So, and how does a system maintain itself? That's another thing. Okay, does it maintain itself using or consuming drugs, or does it? It's not resilient because like each time a shock arrives, it's gonna lose its ability or something. But if a system maintain itself using exercise and sports or something like that, I mean that's more resilient because those kind of delayed feedbacks and they kind of like gives different kinds sorts of feedback that can be accessed even in conditions which is absolutely impossible. This thing, I don't know when it's gonna vanish. Yeah, right. Hmm. That is true too. There's only a limit if like yeah, there's only limits to resilience. Yeah, and resilience and redundant systems persist longer, but there's limit. It's not like you can just face infinite amount of like you know. Yes, this example was really good one. The cow one. I like that. Yeah, I was doing something on my screen. You can look at it. can take on more of the job of controlling pests. It is behind holistic health care that tries not only to cure disease, but the body inherent resistance. Leipzig people will provide their own food and money. Evolution appears to not be a series of accidents during the Earth's history. This characteristic of some complex systems is their ability to learn of a single fertilizer from a chicken represents the ability of the nature to out of a puddle of organic chemicals. The idea of burning coal making steam. Developed eventually the Autobahn assembly plant as I described. A system to make its own structure more complex is called small way whenever you see a snowflake. There's a more profound way. For granted. Didn't we would be dazzled by the now she's actually ranting about the stuff rather than giving the essence. That's why Ashby in cybernetics is so different. Ashby never rants. He's like, "This is the stuff. Make sense of it by yourself." She's like, "I'll make you help sense of it. I want you to make sense of it." The other axis, mechanical adjustment protection bar. As if they were only numbers. For how long have we been streaming? I don't know. We are streaming for 2 hours and 14 minutes, right? That's not much actually. I'm gonna take a 10-minute break. I was about to go a long time ago, but yeah, I mean, I just got so hooked with the book. So yeah, I'll be back in 10 minutes, guys, or maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. Yeah, damn. Guess, guys, who's back? The one who's supposed to stream the stream is back. Okay. The king is back. Okay, that's kind of sounds childish, but you get what I mean, right? The king is truly back. Okay. That was really childish of me, but yeah. Do we got the AC on? Yeah. Oh, I feel so tired. Fuck, my sleep schedule is so trash because of my girlfriend. But it's gonna get better because, well, you see, mm, oh, I'm gonna stop talking to her at night. Oh my gosh. Because, like, man, she sleeps in the afternoon. I don't have time for that. So if I lose sleep, I lose sleep. She can just recover that, but I cannot, right? Out of the simple rule of self organization can grow enormous, diversifying crystals of technology. Yeah, and I needed to use ChatGPT to actually tell me, like, okay, so ChatGPT, these people are talking about redundancy, right? And not just that, they're talking about self organization, like a thinking system, and also about hierarchies. But if I were to talk about redundancy itself, what is redundancy? I mean, I get it, like not redundancy, actually, resilience. Now, I think what make mistake I made. So these people are talking about redundancy and resilience, right? Especially also about self-organization and thinking system. But I think Donella does a really bad job at explaining that. At least at the start, I haven't actually completed the chapter, so I don't know. But it's like, okay, what is like self-organization? Like the ability to organize oneself, right? I mean, like how do we kind of like the ability to achieve some state transition? But it's like it's a really vague. It's like it's not like Ashby, right? Remember the Ashby from like cybernetics, like introduction to cybernetics by Ashby. It's like every fucking thing has like some meaning or some simplification. It's like I think from self-organization she means how simple rules allows us to organize ourselves or something like that. And from resiliency pretty much means like ability to be elastic and absorb shocks, yeah, or something like that. But could you define me the real definition that I should have in my mind, something which is accurately explains self-organization and resilience, if not redundancy? See, like a definition that is like an absolute definition, the one of the most asymmetric and leverage definition, rather than what she is giving, because I think she isn't giving the best definition and is not simplifying the mechanism. There should be just one line, one definition. That's all that explains the entire thing. Because when you're explaining something too much, that means you don't know like too much of it. Compression. I believe there was. The kid back then in COVID and all of that wasn't a resilient identity to maintain itself like it is. Like it has the same structure. It is the same thing. Create or modify its own structure without external control. It feeds back into itself. It feedbacks into itself. It maintains its own feedback loop. It maintains its own energy. It maintains something like that. As soon as this laptop starts to take energy and starts to not take energy, man, it's kind of like on the full battery. It's like it can modify its own structure without external control. So it can go on itself. Mental shocks. Nicely, a thermostat has risen with almost no self-organization. Decision makers kill the trend and new structure when all stop working. Subshocks resilience. Well, avoid dependence on single component. My nose is trying to communicate. And how would you explain hierarchy then? You know, hierarchies. And how would you explain hierarchies? And how would you explain hierarchies? Like, and tell that in one line. The feedback leads to self-organization. I just want to stand up and walk. There's a suggestion here on the studio. The bitrate is lower, but that doesn't necessarily mean much, you know. Yeah. Damn. You know, let's just close this thing. Partially decomposable. They can be taken apart and the subsistence. Much can be learned by taking apart system at different hierarchical level cells or organs, for example, and studying them separately. And system thinkers would. I think this is for today. I'm kind of tired now, so let's do this tomorrow. Yeah. Bye, guys.